Bonjour, welcome to Wahsa Distance Education Center's radio Zoom classes. This is MEL3E, grade 11 workplace math. I'm the teacher, Bronwyn Slade. If you would like to participate live today, you can call the Wahsa studio at 1-800-465-7144 or 737-4017. You can listen on the radio at 91.9 FM and also on the television at Bell Express View channel 972. You're always welcome to join me live through the Zoom link, which is available from me, your teacher, and also from your DEC. Our classes are scheduled from Monday through Thursday from 9 till 10 in the morning, and we are wrapping up our 4th week of our 9-week course. At this point, you should be thinking about what work to submit for marking as we are through most of Unit 2 as well as Unit 1. So a reminder that the support questions, the ones with the pencil icons, are not for marking. You decide which ones and how many of these to do. If you're understanding a concept, feel free to skip these questions. You don't need to do all of them just because they're there. If you're understanding and you're confident with your abilities, then you can move on. But if you need more practice or you're struggling with a concept, please ask for support and ask for more practice problems. I'm happy to provide them. The key questions, the ones with the little key icon, are the ones to submit for grading. So please do all of these questions. I'm marking them all, so please do them all. Show all of your work, your steps, and your thinking. This way I'm able to understand where you might be going wrong. If you make a small calculation error, then I can take off half a mark. Whereas if you just give me the wrong answer and it's because of a small calculation error, but you only give me the answer, there's no way for me to know if this was a conceptual error, if you're making lots of mistakes, or if it's a one small little error. So I then can't do any marks. So please show me your work so that I can figure out what it is that you are, either that you really understand it or that if you're making mistakes, where your mistakes are. All right, so how do you actually submit your work? Well, there's 3 different methods. The first is to scan your work in and send it electronically. If you don't have access to a scanner, which many of us don't, but you do have a device, you can scan your completed work through your device. If you have an Apple device, the Notes app that comes with it and is also free has a scan function. And if you have an Android device, then the Google Drive app has a scan function, which is free and also fairly straightforward to use. Both of them are pretty much just point and click. But if you need some support with that, please let me know. I'm happy to support. Also, if you're unable to do that and you just need to take pictures to send your work in a picture, that's okay. Scanning just makes the file smaller and a little bit easier for me to manage. But if that's not easier for you, don't worry about it. You can send me a picture, that is fine. Then you can send it to me through email at studentwork@nnec.on.ca and CC it to me, Bronwyn Slate at nnec.on.ca. Or you can also send it to me through Facebook Messenger, where my name is B. Slate Wahsa. The second method is to drop your work off in Sioux Lookout. We have an outdoor mailbox at our location 74 Front Street. We're the bright red building next to the post office, and we have a small white mailbox next to our side entrance. We are not yet open to the public, but please just put your work in there at any time and I'll get it back to you as soon as I can. Then the third method is to hand your work into your DEC. So your DEC can either send your work through the Express or fax it to 807-737-1732 or a toll-free fax to 1-800-463-7852. If you'd like to connect with me through social media, both my Facebook profile and my YouTube channel are under the name B. Slate Wahsa. So you can friend me on Facebook and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And then you'll get notifications every time I upload one of our lessons. All of our radio Zoom classes are recorded and I post them to YouTube shortly after airing. And also on my YouTube channel, I have short videos that explain common errors or confusing concepts, things that folks might be struggling with. So it's a really good place to go to start with, because then you don't have to do a general internet search. I might have I might address what you're struggling with there, and it might be really easy to find. So it's a really good place to go to start if you want to do a little bit more research to get some help. Math is a really visual subject, so I strongly encourage you to access the videos, either joining me live through Zoom, even if you don't want to talk to me, that's fine, or watching the replays on YouTube. Being able to see the diagrams and the steps and the full experience is going to set you up for the most success. So please try to access the videos. If you can't access them because you don't have reliable internet, that completely makes sense. So just let me know and I'm happy to send you a copy of the recordings so that you can still get the full experience and really set yourself up for success. All right, so if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out and contact me. My email address is bronwyn.slate, that's spelled BRONWYN.SLATE@nnec.on.ca. Connect with me through Facebook, where my name is B Slate Wahsa. Call me at the office at 807-737-1488, extension 2209, or toll free 1-800-667-3703. My office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. So that is the best time to get a hold of me directly, though I do teach from 9 till 11 in the morning. So I'm not at my desk at that time. If that time doesn't work for you and you still want to reach out, then send me an email, leave me a voicemail, and we can try to arrange a time that works for both of us. Tomorrow, September 30th, we are closed in honor of the Day of Truth and Reconciliation. So we will not be open. I will not be here at my desk, but still feel free to leave me a message and I will get back to you next week. All right, so today is another Throwback Thursday lesson. We're going to be looking specifically at lessons 6 through 9, though with Throwback Thursday, we go all the way back to the beginning to remember everything we've done so far. So a reminder as to why we're reviewing already, and we've already started reviewing, so why are we doing it again? But it's just about this forgetting curve concept. So the idea that we forget things really, really quickly and we forget a lot of stuff. So after a week from knowing something, from learning something, if we don't revisit it after a week, we only retain about 40% of that information. So we are wrapping up week 4. Chances are pretty good that if we didn't talk about it, you wouldn't have any idea what we did in week 1. And even what we did a week ago, you only probably remember about 40% if we don't recap it. So if we do recap it, if we continue to revisit, and we're not doing it every couple of days, but if we were to, with revisiting, we remember things for a longer period of time. So we remember more of it because we're revisiting the concept, but then we also takes longer for us to forget because we have re-established those brain pathways that are holding that information. So this is why we review consistently throughout our course in order to make sure that we're able to remember what we've been talking about. But first, let's activate our brain with a bit of mental math. So hopefully by now you're fairly familiar with the fact that I don't like mad math minutes, that they cause people stress and anxiety, and they don't actually teach anybody anything. They either you're good and you know them, your facts, or you don't and you're stressed out. So instead of focusing on that, we develop strategies that you can use in various situations that get you more comfortable with numbers, more comfortable with your facts, and able to use things that are friendly for you, that there's more than one way of getting to an answer, and that you strengthen your comfort and familiarity with both numbers and math facts. So our question today is 7 times 29, and we are using the concept of making a landmark. So 7 times 29 is definitely not a friendly number. Neither 7 nor 29 are numbers that are friendly at all to me. This is not something that I have memorized. This is a fact that if I was given this as a kid, I'd have, other than writing it down and following the standard algorithm, I wouldn't have any tools to figure out how to do this, which is how most of us are. But making a landmark, it means that we're going to connect to a friendly number and use that to figure out what our question is, our answer to our question is. So instead of 30, 30 is really close to the friendly number, 29. Instead of 29, 29 is really close to the friendly number 30. My bad. So we're not going to figure out what 7 times 29 is, but first we're going to figure out what 7 times 30 is, because usually anything with a 0 at the end is a little bit more friendly. So 7 groups of 30, or 30 groups of 7. Well, I know that 7 groups of 3, or 3 groups of 7, is equal to 21. So that means that 30 groups of 7 is going to be 210. So that's my first step, is I'm going to say, okay, so 30 groups of 7 is equal to 210. But I really wanted 29 groups of 7. And this is where this part gets tricky, is because it's like, okay, well, we're going to subtract 1. But we're not just going to subtract 1. We're going to subtract 1 group of 7. So we're going to say, because we added 1 whole group of 7, right? So to get from 29 to 30, we added 1 group, not just 1, we added 1 group. So that means to get from our answer, we need to take away 1 group. So we need to subtract 1 group of 7. Well, in this case, it's just 1 group. So that means that 1 group of 7 is 7. So I'm going to subtract from 210, I'm going to subtract 7. And I know that 10 subtract 7 is 3. So that's going to be 203. So if 30 groups of 7 is 210, then 29 groups of 7 is going to be 203. And that's how you can use making a landmark. Remember, these are things that it isn't the most beautiful written down. When you look at it, it's kind of like, what are you doing? I'm not writing it mathematically in like the most beautiful of structures, but it's about understanding what's going on and thinking about it, opposed to it being the most elegant way to write it down. Mathematically, the algorithms, the standard things that most of us learn and are the only tools that we have, those are nice ways of writing things down. That's how they're set up to organize information, to write it down. But they aren't necessarily set up to make things conceptually make sense. And this is what we're working on, is making things conceptually make sense, even if they're not pretty to write down. And that is making a landmark. And I would say try it out, play with it a few numbers and see how that goes. All right, so what are our highlights? What have we covered so far? So we're going to go all the way back to Unit 1 and first cover just a reminder of what we did in Unit 1. I know this was weeks ago, but this is why we're doing it, to remember, because in this moment, I don't remember what we did. So lesson 1 was earning an income, where we first looked at salary and how your yearly salary can be broken up and paid out to you in terms of probably not once a year, but maybe monthly, maybe 12 times a year, maybe bi-monthly, so twice a month, 24 times a year, maybe weekly, 52 times a year, maybe bi-weekly, 26 times a year, every 2 weeks. Then we also looked at piecework, which is where you get paid for the job or paid for the 1 unit of whatever it is that you're doing. So 1 lawn that you're mowing, or 1 t-shirt that you make, or something like that, that's piecework. And then we looked at job advertisements and how to figure out the important information, pull it information off of a job advertisement to really know what it is that you're applying for. Then in lesson 2, we looked at commission and hourly rates. So hourly rates are when you're getting paid per hour. In Ontario, we have a minimum wage of $15 per hour, which actually, now that we are at the end of September, goes up in October to $15.50 an hour, which is great, getting closer and closer to a living wage. For our sakes and our purposes, if you use $15 an hour, if we're talking about hourly rate minimum wage, that's fine. If you want to use $15.50 for minimum wage, that's fine as well. I can adjust, I can see what you're doing, but this is why showing me your work is really important so I know what it is that you're doing. Then we talked about overtime, which is when you work more than your allotted or more than your set hours per week or per day. And then you get paid generally time and a half, which is 1.5 your wage. And so you get paid more because you're giving them more hours beyond what is your set timeline. If in Ontario, if you work more than 44 hours a week, then you have to get paid overtime. They can pay you more. They can pay you overtime earlier than that, but 44 hours is the set definition in Ontario where you have to start getting paid overtime. And then we talked about commission, which is when you are getting paid a percentage of your sales or of the money that you earn, like that you earn for your company. And this really ranges depending on the industry and depending on the position. You can get paid, if you have more experience, you might have a higher rate of commission, various things about, and change really depends. There's not a set standard. Also with commission, sometimes you get paid a set rate as well, or an hourly rate plus a commission percentage on top of that. All right, so then looking at lesson 3, we talked about gross and net pay. So your gross income is your total income. So all those incomes that we just talked about, were examples of getting your gross income. So how much money you earn in total. And then your net income is your gross income subtracting the deductions that payroll takes off of your check in order to pay for common set programs and services within your area. So within your, like, federally or provincially, depending on where you are, that rates are going to be different. Also, you might have deductions that come off that automatically that are part of your benefits or part of things that your company does specifically. And then we also talked about monthly expenses in terms of how to budget, starting to think about your fixed and your variable expenses, and making a plan about how that all connects together and how you use your income and to make plans for what your expenses are. Then in lesson 4, we looked at paying taxes. So we looked at the tax paperwork, and lesson 4, we had to break up into 2 pieces. So we looked at the tax paperwork and the hidden taxes together in terms of jewelry, cigarette, and gasoline taxes, which are taxes we don't necessarily know that are paying, that they're integrated into our prices that we are advertised to us. And then we had a whole lesson on tax brackets, on the pocket system of understanding how we actually pay, how our taxes are calculated, how our income taxes are calculated based on our income, and how it spills over into the money that we fill up a pocket, and then the money that is more than that can fit in that pocket spills over to the next pocket and gets taxed at a higher rate. It's tricky. Go back to lesson 4 videos if you want to review that specifically. And then lesson 5, which also was in 2 lessons, we looked at making purchases. So making change with the fewest coins possible. And then we looked at sales tax, so PST, GST, and HST. We figured out how to calculate discounts, and then also how to estimate costs so that many of us aren't actually using a calculator when we are purchasing things, but how do we estimate, how do we predict what our costs are going to be so that we can make informed choices. All right, and then we dived into unit 2, starting with lesson 6, where we talked about buying decisions. So we talked about the unit price, which is we often think of as the best buy, but more is not always better. Sometimes you have to make the decision based on what your situation, based on things not getting wasted. You need to think about what makes sense for you. And a unit price is dollars per pounds or dollars per liters or dollars per shirt. It's how much money per one unit. Then we talk about incentive programs, which motivates an individual to buy something, but it's not always a better deal. So it's something to be paying attention to, because just because they are suggesting that it's a great deal is just because they're providing it and that makes you think that it's a deal, it isn't necessarily. So you really want to be thinking about what makes sense again for you. And we looked at currency conversions, specifically looking at Canadian to US dollar conversions. And right now, Canadian dollars is approximately $1. One Canadian dollar is equal to 0.79 US dollars. Remember, this is something that fluctuates daily, so it may not be that exactly, but it's around there roughly. Then we dove into interest. So lesson 7, we examined simple interest. So remember that simple interest is calculated only on the principal. It is linear growth, so a straight line. It's always, you're going up by the same amount because you're calculating your interest on the same amount of money. And how we say this is the pattern changes at a constant rate. So because we're going up at the same amount, we're going down by the same amount if we're then the pattern is changing at the same amount every single time. Our formula for this was capital I equals capital PRT. Remember, when we say PRT, we are multiplying P times R times T. So our capital I is the amount of interest earned. So that's a dollar amount. That's actually figuring out how much money we've earned. The capital P is our principal amount. So how much we've invested or borrowed if we're talking about a loan. And that's also in dollars. Our rate, R, is our interest rate. And this is a percentage. So this is what's given to us by the investment, the stock market, the bank, the credit card. Your interest rate is given by somewhere else. And we use this as a decimal. So we need to remember how to convert a percentage to a decimal. And then our time is T, and this has to be in years. So again, we have to convert this into years. If it's given to us in months, days, weeks, we always have to make sure that we're talking about it in years. And then in order to figure out the final amount, so if we have capital A equals P plus I, so that's capital A is our final amount in money, so how much money we have in total, and this is our principal plus our interest. So for simple interest, we just calculate our interest amount, and we need to figure out our total amount, we need to add the principal, the amount that we started with. Then lesson 8 is where we connected simple interest to compound interest. And this is where we looked at the two and we looked at spreadsheets. So remember, simple interest is calculated only on the principal and its constant growth. And that is this pink line here on our graph. Whereas compound interest is calculated on the principal and the accumulated interest. So how much interest we've already made. We get interest on that, and that is this light blue line is our compound interest. So you can see that it's growing faster. So it has exponential growth, which means that we are growing faster. We get, after every time we're going to go grow more and more and more. We're not growing at a constant rate. We are growing at an exponential rate. And this has a biggest impact over a long period of time. So on the graph that we have, we can see it's only 5 time periods, 5 years, 5 months, something like that. And we can see that it's not too far apart, but as we get bigger and bigger and bigger, this is going to have a bigger and bigger change. The blue line is going to be much higher than the pink line. And in lesson 8, we looked at the spreadsheet. So we looked specifically at Excel and Google Sheets in terms of how you actually can calculate these using a spreadsheet instead of having to do it by hand, and getting all of the parts of information. So doing it by one period of time, by 1 year, and seeing how that is different. Remember, if you don't have computer access, if you aren't able to do the Excel or Google Sheet portion of this lesson, please connect with me and ask for something else. Let me know. You should not get penalized for not having it. If you just skip it, lots of students have just skipped it, which means you get 0, which is going to have an impact on your overall mark. but you should not be penalized because you don't have access to a computer or the internet to be able to use these programs. So please connect with me if you don't have access, and I can hook you up with something so that you still get credit for engaging in this lesson. And then finally, lesson 9, we ended this with compound interest. So we've moved from simple interest, seeing them connected, and now we're understanding compound interest. So a reminder that compound interest grows exponentially. It grows fast. The pattern increases or decreases at a constant ratio. So that means that we're exponentially growing. And our formula is capital A equals capital P, open a bracket, so times 1 plus R divided by N, closing your brackets, to the exponent NT, where N is times T. So A is our final amount, still the same, how much money we have in total. P is our principal, so how much money we are investing or borrowing at the beginning. R is our interest rate as a decimal, so this is the same, right? This is the interest rate that they were given. And T is our time in years, also the same as in simple interest. What is different is that we have N, which is our number of compound periods. So how often our money is back to reinvested, and that interest is added to our principal to be invested. So then to figure out the interest in this case, we need to do our amount, because that's what we find from our formula. We do our amount, take away our principal, and that tells us what our interest is. All right, so now we are going to do some mixed practice. We've gone over everything that we've learned so far. So we are going to dive in and see if we can do some practice to remember how to actually answer questions. Remember, with our questions, we don't know which strategy, which tool we need to use. So we need to read the question and figure that out before we dive in to make sure that we're using the right tools. So question number 1. A 1.5 liter container of yogurt sells for $4.99. A smaller 500 milliliter container sells for $3.89. Part A, calculate the unit price per liter for each bottle. So this tells us right here that this is a unit price question. So we are going to figure out the unit's price. Now, I remember last time that I did a unit price question, I didn't pay attention to the whole question, and this says per liter. So we need to figure out what it is, the unit price is per liter. So we're reading the whole question and we're following the instructions. So we're gonna have to do this for each bottle, right? So we know that 1.5 liters is sold for $4.99. Now remember, for unit price, we're doing dollars per liter. So that means that we need to divide our dollars 4.99 divided by 1.5 liters. So when I first wrote it down, I wrote down the liters first, but we want dollars per liter. So that means that we need to do dollars first and then divide it by liters. So using our calculator, we're going to do $4.99 divided by 1.5 liters. And that gives us $3.33 per liter. $3.33 per liter. So that is the large container. The smaller container is 500 milliliters for $3.89. Now we want this per liter. So that means that we need to think about what is 500 milliliters. Well, 500 milliliters is half of a liter, right? Because 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters. So that means that this is 0.5 liters. We need to make sure that we're in the right units. So we're going to do $3.89 divided by 0.5 liters is equal to, on our calculator, is equal to $7.78 per liter. So we calculated the unit price, the dollars per liter for each bottle of yogurt, container of yogurt. And now part B says, which gives you more for your money? So the 1.5 liter container of yogurt is $3.33 per liter, whereas the 500 milliliter container is $7.78 per liter. So if we were to buy this, we're getting the same amount of yogurt, but with a smaller container, it's like twice as much almost. No, it's more than twice as much for the same amount of yogurt, just because it's in a small container. So the 1.5 liter container gives you more for your money. So this is actually true usually in terms of if you like buy those little things of yogurt, the little cups, that's you're spending money on the convenience opposed to just the yogurt. So why it makes sense to buy a big thing of yogurt and then put it in your own reusable containers. Because then you don't need to pay for the convenience. So then part C, explain how you might be able to determine the better buy without calculating the unit prices. So we went through and we calculated, figured out how much it was per liter. But what we could do is we looked at this and we say, well, 1.5 liters is 3 times 500 milliliters, right? Because this is 0.5 liters. So this is half a liter. And this one is 1.5 liters. So that's 3 times. So we could just look at the little one and we could do the little container times 3 to see how much it would be if we got the same amount of yogurt as the big container. And we could just sort of, we could estimate. So this is about $4 for the little container times 3 is equal to $12. So this is $12 for the same amount of yogurt as where this is just about $5. So that we can do the unit price and compare to the same amount. That's totally fine. Or you can also compare just what makes sense in terms of your logically how much you would get the same amount of yogurt and how much money would you have to spend. So then part D, give 2 reasons why someone would knowingly purchase an item that has a higher unit price. So people, you might still do this. So you might have dietary restrictions. So maybe you are buying lactose-free yogurt. And so though it is more expensive, you need a lactose-free yogurt because you're allergic to lactose. Or something like that. Or maybe you need the convenience. Maybe you don't need, the 1.5 liters of yogurt is almost expired. Or it is expired, which happens. So it's going to go bad before you can eat it all. So that is just a waste of money. So things like that is that sometimes there's reasons why money isn't always the most important thing. So paying attention to that is you make choices for yourself and your family. All right, question number 2. Ralphie borrowed $15,000. He can either pay it back after 5 years with simple interest at a rate of 6%, or after 7 years with compound quarterly interest at a rate of 5%. Which is a better option to owe the least interest? So this is a simple interest and compound interest question. Now, we're not going to compare using a chart. We're going to use both. We're going to use the two different formulas. So we need to do both simple and compound interest and see which way will we owe the least interest overall. So for simple interest, we are going to figure out what I is equal to, so the interest amount, and we need to know what the principal is, the rate is, and the time period is. So the principal is $15,000. That's how much Ralphie borrowed. He's going to pay it back with simple interest in 5 years. So T equals 5, and the rate is 6%. So that is equal to 0.06. So to figure out how much interest he would pay this way, I equals PRT, P times R times T. So that's 15,000 times 0.06, because 6% times 5 years is equal to, using our calculator, 15,000 times 0.06 times 5 is equal to $4,500. So if he chose this option, he would end up paying $4,500 back in interest. If he does compound, so remember our compound formula is A equals P times 1 plus R divided by N, all to the exponent NT. Remember, look it up every time if you need to, that's fine. So in this formula, we're finding the A, our final amount, which isn't what we actually need to know, but we need to figure that out first. That's the information that we have. So our principal is still $15,000. Our rate is 5% in this case, which is equal to 0.05. And our N is equal to 4 because it's compounded quarterly. So that's 4. And our T is equal to 7 years because it says 7 years for this option. So then we're going to figure out putting it into our formula. We have 15,000, 1 plus R, which is our rate, 0.05, divided by 4, which is our compounding period, all to the exponent 4 times 7. So doing that on our calculator, 15,000 times, open a bracket, 1 plus 0.05 divided by 4, closing our bracket to the exponent. Remember, you need to open a bracket to do 4 times 7 in Desmos, equals $21,239.88. 21, 2, 20, 39, 88. Now, if we just look at that, we say, whoa, that's a lot of money, a lot of interest to earn, but that is not your interest, right? That's your final amount. So to figure out our interest, we need to do our amount, take away our principal. So that includes our principal. So that's $21,239.88. And we need to take away 15,000 because that includes our principal. So you got to be really careful when you're doing simple interest compared to compound interest because you're talking about slightly different things. So if we take away our principal from that, we end up with $6,239.88. So now that's how much interest we would pay over the 8 years. So have we answered the question? Almost, but not quite. So which is the better option to owe the least interest? So which out of the two, where it's going to be the least interest? Well, $4,500 is less than $6,229.88. So Ralphie should choose the simple interest option. To pay the least interest. So it's really important to make sure you're answering the question. Because you might do a bunch of calculations, but you might haven't actually answered the question. All right. So then number 3, suppose Matt's gross monthly income is about $1,987. Calculate his net income by determining his deductions. So this is a deductions question. So this is like a net pay question. So first, this is our monthly income. This is Matt's monthly income. So we need to figure out his yearly income. So we're going to figure out his yearly income by doing $1,987 times 12. So that is our first step. To figure out how much he makes per year. So 23,844. So that is the first thing that we need to know, the gross yearly income, 23,844. So to figure out the deductions, we need some information. I don't expect you to remember all of this information. So I have to write it down because I don't remember either. So for EI, it's 1.58% up to $889.54. So we do our yearly amount, 23,844 times 0.0158 times our rate. So 23,844. Sorry, I keep saying that wrong. Times 0.0158 is equal to $376.74. So is that more than the $889.54? Nope. So that means that Matt is going to pay in EI $376.74. So then CPP, how much CPP is he going to pay a year? So we do 23,844 times 5.45%. So that's 0.0545 to figure out how much CPP, Canadian Pension Plan, he's going to pay. So that is $1,299.50. Now, is that higher than the limit, which is $2,898? No, it's not. So that means that he actually pays $1,299.50. Okay, great. So that is how we figure out our EI and our CPP, but we still need to figure out our income tax. So we're going to have another page. So our income tax is, first we're going to do our federal, and then we're going to do our provincial. So our federal, we're still doing off this yearly amount. So let's see, which pocket do we fall into? So we have $23,844 is how much they make. And that only falls into the first pocket, right? Because the first pocket is up to $50,197. So we only need to figure out what 23,844 times 15%, 0.15 is. So calculating that is going to give us our income tax, our federal income tax. So $3,576.60 is our federal income tax. So then our Ontario income tax, remember, 23,844. That, which pocket do we fit in? We just fit in the first pocket because the limit is $46,226. So we only need to figure out for this question times what is 5.05%, so 0.0505. So that is 0.0505, $1,204.12. $1,204.12. So then taking that back to our chart, $1,205.04. Is that what it was? 12 cents, $4.12. And then our federal was $3,576.60. Okay, so now our total deductions, we're going to add up all of those things. So we're going to add up all of our deductions. So $1,299.50 for CPP plus $376.74 for EI plus $30,576.60 for your federal income tax plus $1,204.12 for our provincial income tax for Ontario, which is $6,456.69. 6456.96. So that is your total yearly income deductions. So to figure out our net income, we have to do our total income, our gross income, 23,844, take away $6,456.96, which is equal to $17,387.04. 17,387.04. So that is your net income for the year. Matt's net income for the year. And that's how we figure out net income. So that's a lot of steps, but we practice a lot of things, right? We practice not only figuring out our standard deduction, our EI and our CPP, we also practice doing our federal income tax and our Ontario provincial income tax. So there's a lot there. Okay, next question, number 4. George and Marty are hired to pick strawberries at $2 per 2-liter basket. George and Marty start work at 7 a.m. and finish at 5:30 p.m. How many hours do they work each day? So figuring out hours can always be kind of tricky because it's like we have to think about it kind of in 2 chunks. So how I like to do it is we're going from 7 a.m. to 12 noon. So going from 7 to 8 to 9 to 10 to 11 till 12 is 5 hours. And I count on my fingers. And then to go from 12 noon to 5:30 p.m. So from 12 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to half an hour more is 5.5 hours. So they work 10.5 hours each day. So then how much did Marty earn if he picked 42 baskets in one day? So Marty earns $2 per basket. So $2 times 42. So that's $84 in one day. The same day, George picked 29 baskets. What are his total earnings? So $2 times 29 is equal to $2 times 30. I'm going to use that landmark idea is 60. So then take away one group of 2 is going to be 58. So what is the equivalent hour pay for both workers? So for Marty, if he worked, we're trying to find dollars per hour. So 84, he made $84 in 10.5 hours. So that is equal to 84 divided by 10.5 is equal to $8 an hour. And for George, $58 divided by 10.5 hours is equal to 58 divided by 10.5 is equal to $5.50. 52 cents. So this is a piece, this is kind of a combination question. This is piecework, right? Because we're figuring out $2 per basket, and also an hourly rate question because we're figuring out what the hourly rate is. So this is very much below minimum wage based on how much they're able to pick in that amount of time. I have no idea if this is realistic. I'm sure that this isn't. I'm sure that they would pick more, but just to show you that piecework can be tricky. All right, number 5. Jalen is investing $25,000 and has 2 options, both using simple interest. Invest Tech Bank offers 4.89% for 3 years, and Rabo Direct offers 5.37% for 1 year. We've already done a simple interest question, so I'm going to skip that one. We're going to go to number 6. Ignore that question. A set of speakers regularly sells for $59.89. The speakers are on sale today for 15% off of the regular price. Estimate the sales price of the speakers before tax. So we're going to estimate. So this is an estimating cost question. So we're going to say that this $59.89 is $60. So for estimating the sales price, so regular, it is $60. And if we're taking off 15%, well, to figure out 15% of 60, if I'm estimating, so is equal to, so 10% of 60 is $6. And 5% of 60 is going to be half of that 10%, so is $3. So 15% of 60 is $9. So then the sale price is going to be $60, take away $9, which is going to be $51. Now we're going to estimate the HST, which remember is 13% in Ontario. So to estimate the HST, we're going to say, well, 10% of $51 is equal to $5.10. And then 1/3 of 10%. So 1/3 of $5.10 isn't very nice, but 1/3 of $6 is $2. So that's nicer, but that's going to be too much, right? So I'm going to say, okay, well, what if it's $1.75? Remember, we are estimating. So that means that the HST in total is going to be $6.85. So then estimate the after-tax cost of the speakers. So the sale price is $51 plus my HST, which is $6.85. So that's going to be $57.85 is going to be the cost of the speakers after taxes. And then we could go through and do the exact calculation, but here I can do it on my calculator without. So we're going to take, without writing it all down because we're almost out of time, I'm going to times it by 0.85 to figure out what our actual cost is. So, and then we're going to times that by we're going to times it by 1.13 and we get $57.52 is the exact cost, which mine was $57.85. So we are less than 50 cents apart. So I rushed through that one, but we are almost out of time. So we are almost complete unit 2. We are complete number 1. So you can hand in lessons 1 through 9. We just have lesson 10 to finish unit 2. So remember to do all the key questions and show all of your work. If you have any questions, as always, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to support you. You can call me at 807-737-1488, extension 2209, You can call toll free at 1-800-667-3703. Email me at bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca or connect with me through Facebook at bslatewasa. Remember, all of our lessons, if you need review of any of those topics, are up on YouTube at bslatewasa under the playlist MEL3E. So check it out there if you need to review anything that we've covered today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a lovely day, and miigwech.